Welcome back in this new session of class 10. We are going to deal with another chapter. I have already finished the first chapter related to the chemical reactions and equations. Now the chapter 6, which is concerned with the life processes, Life processes are one of the biological process in which we have to study about the various life activities going on side by side as long as a living organism is alive, means throughout the life. That is why such properties are called or features are called life activities or life processes. I think you have already known that there are various branches of biology. Physiology is one of them. Life processes are studied under the branch of physiology. All the physiological processes are carried out inside the body of living organism. So, life process, that is in chapter 6, we are here concerned with all those processes which are essential for maintenance job and the requirement of energy that is needed to perform various activities of life. So, we know that all living organisms, whether unicellular or multicellular, are made up of various level of organization. So, the body organization is one of the features which enables the organism to adopt a particular life processes, and the mode of performing those life processes are different for different levels of organization of body for different organisms. Suppose that few organisms are unicellular, few are multicellulars, and most of them are multicellular. So, there are different levels of organization of the body. That is the cellular level organization. There are so many living organisms, whether plants or animals, which have cellular body organization. Means their body are composed of single cell only. Just like bacteria, viruses, fungi, these are unicellular, and protozoans also, just like paramecium, amoeba, and so on. Other higher organisms like human being and other animals, plants are concerned as considered as the multicellular organisms. So, how can we say that a particular organism is living or non-living? I think you have already studied in different context the differences between living and non-living. How can we say that a particular thing is living and particular thing is non-living? There are certain features by which we will be able to find out or have the conception about the living and non-living. Just like movement. Movement may be of two types, just like the observable movements or non-observable movements. There are various kinds of movements. just like a person running along the field, along the road, walking along the road. We are performing various activities like lifting of any other things. We are jumping, limping, and so many things. So when we are performing certain activities in our day-to-day life, we say that a particular person is living. Suppose that somebody is in a state of sound sleep. There is no external activities going on along with the body or by the body. How can we find out that the person sleeping in the bed is living or not? We find there is a breathing. So on observing the breathing of his chest, we can say that a particular fellow is living. Means there is a sign of living. He is already breathing. But suppose if we say a person which is in senseless state, even then there will be a pulse rate. Suppose that breathing is very faint, then we try to find out the pulse rate, the temperature of the body, and so many things. So by observing all those things, we will be able to find out that he is living. Suppose if anybody asks you, what about plants? Plants are stationary. Most of the plants remain at the same place throughout their lives. They do not travel from one place to another. Then how can we ascertain, how can we say that plants are living? Somebody say that their leaves are green. What about those plants whose leaves are not green? So greenness is not the only sign for the living of the plants. There must be some change in their growth. So the movement may be just like the movement of branches on wind when it is moving, fluttering and dancing of the branches. This is not a movement of the plants by themselves. These movements are due to the external agencies like air, wind, a storm and so many things. If someone is shaking the branches, there will be the movement in the twigs and branches and leaves, but this is not the usual movement of the plants. So what kind of movement can we observe in plants? Suppose that you have put some seeds like grams in water. After imbibition, the seeds get swollen up. After some time, if you leave these grains, flattened grains, you will observe certain needle-like structures coming out of the seeds. After 1 or 2 days, there will be elongation, enlargement in the size of the needle like a structure that is called radicals. So there will be the increase in size of the radicals. After some time, if the same seeds are grown in the moist field, you will observe that shoots may also come out of the soil. And within the few days or week, we observe that there is a profuse branching and enlargement in size of the plants, means plants has grown to a certain extent. So this is the movement of the plant's body, which is considered as the growth related movement. You have already observed that the movement of tendrils, bearing of flowers, ripening of fruits, enlargement of the buds, and the small unripened fruits which have grown out of the shedding of flowers. So these are the different modes of development observed in plants. So such type of observations are observable observations, but there are certain situations in which it is very difficult to say that whether the organism is living or not. Just like the bacteria, the virus, these are not visible. These are so small that cannot be observed with naked eyes. Such organisms are called microscopic organisms. How can we say that these are living? There is no direct visual evidence. On observing that, we can say that these are living. So there must be some movement at the very small scale, level of a very small scale, that is called molecular movements. So if there is a movement of materials inside the body of the living organism, this is the microscopic level by which we can say that the given organism is living or not. So molecular movements are the movements at very minute level, macroscopic level, but these movements are highly essential for the conduction of life processes. So movement, life processes may be considered as the processes which are essential for the living organisms. There are certain life processes which are highly essential for the living organism, just like nutrition. Nutrition is the process by which a living organism find out their food either from the environment or from other organisms, whether they synthesize themselves or utilize them for themselves, prepared by other organisms. Just like the food which is essential, for the development, maintenance jobs, repairing of the damaged tissue, as well as the performance of the various life activities, both energy and additional amount of materials are essential for the growth and development of the living organism. And from where these materials are obtained, these energy sources are ultimately present outside the body of the living organism. You know that plants need carbon dioxide and water for the synthesis of their own food. But what was the energy utilized by plants? The source of this energy, which is fixed inside the body of living organism in the form of chemical energy. This is derived from the sun. Sun may be considered as the ultimate source of energy, or you may say that it is the basic source of energy which get transferred from one level of organization to another level, one trophic level to another trophic level. So, at first, the solar energy, that is energy in the form of sunlight, gets fixed in the cells of plants by the well-known life process photosynthesis. From the plants, this energy locked inside the molecules synthesized by plants is then transferred to the first level of organism who have ability to consume these plants directly, and such organisms are known as second trophic level of organization, that is herbivores. So from plants, this energy fixed in the plant body is transferred to the herbivores, just like cows, goats, insects, deer, horses, elephants, and so on. So, animals need food, and this food is derived from plants, as well as there are certain animals which can consume the flesh of the other animals, that is such animals are called predators. So all the predators receive their food, means energy, from the lower trophic level of animals. In this way, the energy is transferred from one trophic level to another trophic level. But you have seen that the first of all, energy from the outside is established or stored, synthesized in the plant body, and mostly the green plants. For photosynthesis, two things are essential, means water and carbon dioxide, chlorophyll, which is known as the biocatalyst here, and light, that is sunlight, is the source of energy. Now see here, when the food is captured by other animals, what happens to this food? This food is the raw materials for energy generation in the animal body. Animal derive their food from the plants, which has already been synthesized by them, and the food present is not in the form that can easily be absorbed by the cells of the organism, means animals. So such food is a very complex organic materials in which there are certain more or less nutrients associated with them. So such nutrients may be carbohydrates, proteins, fats, minerals and vitamins. Fat, proteins and carbohydrates are called macrofood materials, nutrients, macronutrients, and vitamins and minerals are micronutrients. So we see that these food atoms consumed by animals are not directly consumed by the cells or absorbed by the cells of the living organism. That is why such complex food atoms must be decomposed into absorbable form that can easily diffuse through the cells or the cell membranes. So the decomposition of or the breaking down of such complex food atoms in which the essential nutrients are present as a essential constituent of the food can be separated from each other from the food, just like during the extraction of metals we have to separate the essential metals locked in the minerals or ores by various physico-chemical processes. In the same way, plants synthesize their food, these foods are consumed by the animals, and the animals have to decompose these food atoms into simpler form. Such process is called digestion. Now, food, I have already told you that food is the need for animals and even plants also. Why? For the production of energy. And the energy is now unlocked from the synthesized food by the oxidation of the food atoms. Means oxidation of the simplified carbohydrate, that is monosaccharide, glucose. Oxidation of glucose will release energy inside the cell through the processes which will be discussed later on. So oxygen is essential for the oxidation of such food atoms to generate energy, as well as if the life processes are going on inside the body, there will be generation of toxic materials also. There are various nitrogenous wastes generated due to the decomposition of dead cells, and all cells like RBC and other things which are complex protein. So when these protein molecules are decomposed, there will be a nitrogenous waste. There may be some amino products also there. These are very harmful to our body. So such harmful substances, toxic materials must be removed from the body from time to time, so that our life would not be difficult. Our life processes should go on smoothly. That is why the excretory materials are also have to be removed. This process is done by a particular life process that is called excretion. And for performing digestion, oxidation and excretion, there is a key process which help in all these three processes are called circulatory process, that is blood vascular system, or in case of plants it is water vascular system. So through the vascular system, the materials, that is food which is digested at one place, oxygen which is absorbed at some other place like inside the lung alveoli, and the excretory materials are generated in the kidney, and other sites are also there for the lower organisms. So such materials must be transported from one place to another place, as well as they must be removed outside the body. So in doing so, performing such essential life processes, circulatory system must be there. So these 3 or 4 life processes are called highly essential life processes, which have to be discussed in detail in the next lecture. Thank you.